Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I'm going to be taking a look at some fighting decks for the post-rotation format. So this is mainly going to focus on the Perfect Order set as well. So if you happen to be interested in trying out Mega Zygarde, then there's definitely going to be a few of those lists around. So yeah, it is worth mentioning though that some of these lists will of course feature other fighting type Pokemon such as Mega Lucario EX and Okidogi. So in case you just need a quick recap on what those cards do, basically I've just left images on the screen, but I think they're pretty self-explanatory, or at the very least I would say Mega Lucario is, because it's like the one that sees more play, I guess, but Okidogi honestly deserves more love. It's a pretty good card, to be fair. Like, it's a pretty good card right now, but post-rotation, Okidogi does like shoot up a bit, I think, and becomes definitely one of the best single prize attackers. So very, very cool card, of course, with a dark energy attached to it. It gets plus 100 HP, and you get to do 100 more damage, which is, yeah, quite a powerful effect, really. So yeah, I do like Okidogi a lot. But the main appeal, of course, is the new Mega Zygarde EX, which has 310 HP, so the biggest basic Pokemon we've ever seen. Now, of course, it does still give up 3 prize cards being a Mega Pokemon, which yeah, is a bit of a shame and a bit of a problem for the deck. So you will have to try and work your way around it, either by using single prize attackers or, just like using ways of healing Zygarde. But either way, still very tanky. It's also got 2 pretty interesting attacks. Gaia Wave, I would say, is quite useful sometimes. 200 damage, and you take 30 less damage from attacks. Very useful for just finishing off like an active Pokemon, for example, or setting up a KO. But Munkus Zero is where Zygarde really comes into play. For a whopping 5 fighting energy for each of your opponent's Pokemon, you get to flip a coin, and if heads, you do 150 damage to each of those Pokemon. So yeah, it is like, well, not sorry for each heads, otherwise that would be incredible. But yeah, no, sadly it's just 150 damage for each Pokemon for each heads on that Pokemon, if that makes sense, right? So it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just making it way more confusing than it needs to be. But yeah, so of course this attack can be very unreliable, but it could also be very devastating. Like, if you flip enough heads, you will just board wipe your opponent. So it does put your opponent on a timer to KO Mega Zygarde and ensure you can't use Munkus Zero a few times in a game. So yeah, very cool attack. But yeah, as for some other new cards, we have the new Barbaracle coming around in Perfect Order, which has the ability Stone Arms. Once in your turn, you may attach a basic fighting energy card from your hand to one of your fighting Pokemon. So this can just be your active Zygarde or Zygarde on the bench, which is very handy because Barbaracle has a retreat cost of 2, so does Mega Zygarde actually. So you can just use Air Balloon to free retreat them both, which is cool. Also, we have the new supporter Tarragon, which says put up to 4 in any combination of fighting Pokemon and basic fighting energy cards from your discard pile into your hand, which is very useful because Mega Zygarde can utilize a tool card, which we'll look at in the next slide, Core Memory, that requires you to discard all energy attached to Zygarde if you want this extra attack. So effectively, Tarragon lets you retrieve all this energy, and also just lets you retrieve 3 basic energy and a Zygarde if one gets KO'd. So, quite a nice supporter to have in the deck. And for the last new card, we actually have Rock Fighting Energy. So it provides fighting energy, which is, yeah, you'd hope it provides fighting energy, but it does say prevent all effects of attacks used by your opponent's Pokemon done to this fighting Pokemon. So it basically just means stuff that would say like, oh, you're now confused, or, discard energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. All those effects of attacks basically don't do anything to you, which is cool. It's nice to have. I can't think of any like crazy relevant examples off the top of my head right now. I mean, there will be stuff in the future that's like, oh yeah, during your opponent's next turn, the defending basic Pokemon can't attack or whatever, annoying attacks like that. But, rock fighting energy would prevent them. So yeah, that's pretty cool to see. But yeah, as for our first list we have, it is going to be a Mega Zygarde list. Now, 2 Mega Zygarde, 4 Okidogi. I do have like a more straightforward Zygarde build coming up. So like, if you don't really care about Okidogi and you don't want to like go out your way to acquire some, then there will be a different list. But I did want to mention Core Memory here. For a whopping 4 fighting energy, which is still, I guess, 1 cheaper than Munkus Zero, Geobuster does 350, but of course you have to discard all energy, which is where like Tarragon comes into play, although this list isn't actually playing it, although you could play if you wanted to. But yeah, 350 damage is an awful lot. Like, it's just a silly amount. Like, you did not need damage modifiers in this deck. Like, look at this list. It's not even playing Premium Power Pro, because you're just doing so much damage anyway. So yeah, 350 is a silly amount to do against Megas and stuff, of course. Like, that's the main appeal, really, is you're just going to try and bonk a Mega, and against much smaller decks, you try and use Munkus Zero and, like, just board wipe your opponent. And if you want to, like, really mess with your opponent, you can, like, try and use Okidogi to skewer the prize race, which is really cool about this deck. Also got a Solar Rock and Lunaton as a draw engine in literally every list we'll look at today, so do familiarize yourself with those cards. But, 4 Gong, 4 Pokepad means setting up should be quite easy. 2 Ultra Ball to find your Zygarde, of course, but yeah, supporters, pretty straightforward. 4 Lilies, 3 Boss, 2 Judge, and an Iris, which is cool to see. And 4 of that new Prism Energy, which will be very useful and kind of important for Okidogi as well. So, yeah, pretty straightforward list, I would say, overall. Seems very solid. Next up, though, is we do have more of a focus on Zygarde being the main attacker of this deck. Although we probably shouldn't forget about Solrock, just the fact that it can do 70 damage for a single fighting energy if you have Lunaton on the bench. So you can, apply some pressure if you really wanted to, knock out a basic Pokemon in the early game. Or, maybe just swing into an EX Pokemon for 70 and then Munkus Zero hopefully finishes them off later on. But, stuff like that is quite nice to do because Barbaracle really can't attack to save his life. Like 3 fighting energy, 80 damage. It's just like, ugh, yeah, not very good on Barbaracle's front. But if you want to, I think Binnacle is actually more useful. Like the draw 2 for 1 energy is, that's probably just more useful to be honest. But yeah, a bit of a shame for Barbaracle. He's not attacking, but this list is playing Premium Power Pro, so you can get like cheeky KOs with Solrock or a Gaia Wave and stuff, which is nice to see at the very least. And you are playing 2 copies of the core memory. So you could actually, in theory, go all the way up to 380, which is very cool. So that's a very cool little combination you can do. Also got Wally's Determination, just to make sure your Zygarde kind of lives beyond a few turns, because that is kind of the issue with Megas. Your opponent knocks out 2 of them, they win. So it's preferable if that does not happen. So, we need the Wallies to prevent that. Also got Rocket's Watchtown here to prevent some colorless abilities, which is going to be pretty good post rotation because Meowth EX is a very, very good card. So having Rocket's Watchtower is a really nice addition. So yeah, seems like a pretty good list overall. Next up is we have a Mega Lucario Zygarde hybrid list. Although admittedly this deck is only playing 1 Zygarde, it's definitely more of a tech piece. But Mega Lucario can accelerate energy, so it's nice to have in the deck. So like Munkus Zero is just a little bit easier to power up if you want to do it that way. Although I will say, like, the straightforward Barbaracle build is probably better if you're just trying to build around with Mega Zygarde, really. But ultimately, though, if you're favoring, like, a bit more of a competitive deck, then Mega Lucario is probably a much safer bet post-rotation. So, this is, like, a bit of both worlds, I would say, like, the best of both worlds. You got, like, the flavoursome of Zygarde, but then you've also got, like, the reliant consistency of Lucario and the Hariyama combos, which is always nice. Still playing the Meowth, which is quite potent. I would say Meowth is probably going to be quite an expensive card post-rotation, so unless you have all like the Mega Lucario stuff already, I would say I wouldn't worry too much about acquiring Meowth. Like 4 Ultra Ball does mean you can lean into it a bit more, because you still need Ultra Ball for like Mega Lucario and Zygarde, but at the same time, I don't think Meowth will be like the be-all or end-all to decks. Like it's a very, very good card, don't get me wrong, but I don't think this list will like fall apart immediately if you don't have one, basically. So just something bearing in mind if you're a new player. But yeah, next up though is we have a very straightforward Lucario build. If you really don't care about Zygarde, Okidogi, you just want to play Lucario post-rotation. Here it is. It's a very straightforward list and pretty much 4-ofs across the board, really. And one thing I will say that I find quite surprising is because you're not running any Hariyama and no boss, you are playing 4 Pokemon Catcher, which is, it's a choice. I mean, I used to play 4 Pokemon Catcher in some decks during the Sun and Moon era. But like it's a bit of a weird one. Like it is a coin flip, so it's just like sometimes it will be absolutely fantastic, like guaranteed gust almost on an item card is amazing, but it is a coin flip, and there's a chance that you just fail all of them every single game and just sucks. So like, it's a cheaper way than boss sometimes, especially for newer players. So that's a plus side at the very least. But yeah, Pokemon Catcher a bit sketchy. But other than that, though, I would say this is quite a nice list for newer players because it's just very straightforward, easy to run. You could also like mess around with stadium counts if you were like having trouble acquiring certain cards. But yeah, definitely a big focus on getting big KOs with that second attack. It's already doing 270, but Maximum Belt adds another plus 50. You got your Premium Power Pros to add another plus 30, and you've even got the Gravity Mountain to reduce Stage 2 Pokemon by minus 30, which is relevant, I think, against some Megas. So yeah, pretty big deal. Definitely allows you to KO Greninja, which is very nice and very appealing, I will say. But yeah, very straightforward Lucario build. Next up, though, is we have a more of an Okidogi focused one. This is a single prize deck, so in theory, it should be cheaper, but it is playing like some annoying one-offs like Monkey Dory and stuff, which aren't always the cheapest cards to acquire or like the easiest. But, 4 Pokepad because we kind of need it. But yeah, also playing the new not the new, but the Blood Moon Ursalona that no one really talks about anymore. Is that fair to say? Like, it's a pretty good card overall, but like, it's just not outstanding. Like, you can attach up to 2 fighting energy when you bench it, and then for 2 fighting and colors, you do 100 damage, and then I believe it's 30 or 50 more for every damage counter on your opponent's active. So like, it's basically just a finishing move. Like, after you've used Solar Rock to poke for 70, or you can attack with an Okidogi, you can then go in there and use Blood Moon and just blow something up, basically. Preferably a Mega, so you can price trade effectively. But that's the plan at least. And you've still got Barbaracle as well to accelerate energy, because you kind of need that for Okidogi anyhow. So yeah, pretty strong. Also running 3 Battle Cage, so you have a way of protecting yourself against damage counters, which is nice. And Legacy Energy, which is a double buff for Okidogi, because it turns it into a 0 price Pokemon, while also, providing the Dark Energy, which is very cool. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down below. We'll be playing any fighting decks post-rotation. And yeah, thank you for watching.